So we are on Perik Beis, Pasuk Beis in Bamidbar. Beis. And Beis. 732. Okay. So 732, 6 lines from the top. V'daber Hashem al Moshe ve'el Aaron lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, and he says the following: Ish al diglo ve'osos leveis avosov yachanu b'nei Yisrael. The b'nei Yisrael they'll camp based on their flags. A degel is a flag. Mineged saviv le'ol moed yachanu. So the Jewish people are now going to be divided up into, you're going to take the 12 tribes, and they're going to divide the 12 tribes into 4 units of 3 each. And they're going to be camped around the, They're going to be camped around the Mishkan. So first of all, there's a medrash that says that the word degel, what's a degel? Degel's a flag. The whole concept of a flag. Where do we get the concept? Everybody's got a degel. Everybody got a flag nowadays. The medrash says that when the Torah was given, Klal Yisrael saw the malachim. The angels came down at Har Sinai, and each angel had a degel. Each angel had a flag. And when the Jewish people saw that the malachim each had a flag, they desired flags also. Really? They desired flags. Really? Why would I lie? They desired. I try to speak truth, right? Maybe that was a lie. What do you call it? So each one. Rachmi, may close that door, okay? Close the far door so we can keep the air in. So each one, they desired the degel. And now the word degel, by the way, it's interesting because the word degel is the same Hebrew letters as the word gadol. Degel and gadol, because the degel shows prominence. The word gadol. Right? Hebrew is an interesting language. Lashon Kodesh is an interesting language. And the word degel in gadol is the same word. So they saw the malachim with the flags, and the medrash says when they saw the malachim with the flags, they desired the flags. They wanted the golim. One of them, before I should say, what that means is that, there's an idea that every malach has his unique role. And malach has a unique role. There are a lot of different mishparim about how malachim work, but each malach is sent on his mission and his unique role. So again, this is somebody just asked me about the Parsha. I told them the theme of the Parsha is everybody's got a role to play. And it's your role is not his role, and his role is not my role. Everybody's got a role to play. So they want their degel, which is a symbol of each Jew recognizes the fact that he's got a unique role to play. He's got a unique job. They're going to be in a formation now, which represents a military formation. There's later on Rashi and Ha'azinu says that the Golim 3-3-3-3 on all the sides is like a military formation. Now, part of the big question over here is that if you notice, the first thing that you notice over here is it says, this is in the, where does Rashi say it? It's the second year. Where does Rashi say? This is the second year of their going out. The Torah says it. Maybe the Torah said it earlier. The Torah said it earlier, I think. Where was that? Yeah, but the first pasuk, the second pasuk in the Parsha says this is be'echad lachodesh hasheni b'shana hashenis. This is the first of Iyar of the second year of their having gone out of Mitzrayim. So the question becomes, why is it that the Jewish people are divided into the Golim, they're divided into their camps of 3 tribes each? Why is that in the second year? Why didn't that take place right when they came out of Egypt? Why did Hashem wait until the second year to divide them up into these 3-3-3-3? So they're coming out of Egypt. Before you march out of Egypt, divide them up. Why are you dividing them up now? And by the way, what determined how they're going to be divided up? Anybody know? They had a what do you call it? It was in Yaakov Avinu. When Yaakov Avinu told the tribes how to carry his coffin out of Mitzrayim, that was the pattern that this was going to happen. That's why the Torah says, Ishal diglo be'osos leveis avosam. Leveis avosam, by the house of their fathers, means by the house of which father? From the tradition coming down from Yaakov Avinu, which is why there's no fighting over here. There's no fighting over here. Do you ever have a situation where you have to make a choice of where you're going to sit? You and somebody else that make a choice. There are 2 possible seats. Let's say you get on a plane, and you have a choice of any seat that you want on the plane, not in business, only in cattle. You have the choice of any seat that you want, right? Isn't that agonizing? Well, should I sit by the window, by the exit row, or should I sit by the aisle, by the way? Which one is the better seat? And then you know that no matter which one you sit in, when somebody else sits in that other one, that one's going to look better. Isn't that Sar Balei Chaim? Yeah, I went through this, not on a plane. I went through a chocolate bar. So my father, Al Vashal, he bought us 2 Hershey bars. One was flat and long and wide, and the other one was narrow and thick. And they were both the same weight. 2 Hershey bars that were made. They were both the exact same quantity of chocolate. And me and my brother each had to pick one. And I knew that no matter which one my brother picks, that's going to be the better one. Right? No matter which, and my brother had this incredibly annoying habit of eating it slow. By me, I basically inhaled it, and and I knew that no matter what happens, after we choose, his is going to look better than mine. It's interesting in human nature how that works, right? So what I should have done is just taken his, but he was older. If it was my younger brother, I probably would have. I once had my 2 younger sons once came in there. I think it was like a Sunday night. I come home from Yeshiva, and so my wife is busy with the kids. So I go to the refrigerator to take some supper. So there were 2 pieces of dry white chicken from Shabbos left over. So I sit down. It's late at night, and my 10-year-old comes into the room, and he takes a look and says, "I want one." I had 2 pieces of chicken. He says, "I want one." So I kind of look at him. By the time I finished with him, my 7-year-old son comes. He says, "I want some." So I didn't feel like arguing with him. I said, "You know what? Take this piece, you guys. You're going to divide it up." And I turned to my 10-year-old. I said, "You're going to split it into 2 piles, into 2 halves, and you're going to choose which one you want." So I remember because my 7-year-old looked at it, he was intrigued. He was intrigued. My 10-year-old looked at me like this because when he split things with his brother, an even split by him was about 80-20. And so here he's got to split it, and there is no way that and I remember he must have taken 20 minutes to get this pile, like exactly perfect, with shifting pieces back and forth. So here, the Jewish people, okay, you guys are going to be on the east side. Why can't we be on the west side? You'll be up front. Why can't we in the back? That sort of thing. It's human nature. Is wherever you're assigned to be, something else is probably going to look better. Why didn't they fight over it? We don't fight any fighting. They did exactly what they were told because they had this tradition from Yaakov Avinu that's where you're going to be. Once they had the tradition from Yaakov Avinu, page 732. Once they had the tradition from Yaakov Avinu, that's where they're going to be. The question is, why did it take till the second year to divide them up? Why didn't the HaKadosh Baruch Hu do it as soon as they came out of Mitzrayim? The order for Moshe Rabbeinu comes right now. Anybody got an idea? Why did they wait till the second year? Very interesting. Yes?
So that they had time to grow as people all together.
Very close, very close. By the second year, the Mishkan had been built. And the Mishkan becomes the Mishkan is a central unifier for the Jewish people. That means we're all on one team over here, we just have different roles. If you divide them up without that unifying force, so then you run the risk of factionalism. You guys are over here, and you guys are over here, and we find that. You find that sort of thing. That's why in Judaism, you also have to remember there are all sorts of different groups. There are Ashkenazim, and there are Sephardim, and there are Ashkenazim, and there are Hasidim, and there are Ashkenazim, and there are Persians, and there are Ashkenazim, and there are Bukharians, right? There are all sorts of groups among Judaism. And what you have to remember is we're all on the same team. We're all on the same team. The person has to remember that there is no one each one, the same way that there are 12 tribes, there are different minhagim and different nusuchs of davening and each one for that person is the right one. But we'll see, I think I once mentioned you, Reb Simcha, you've heard of Reb Chanan Wasserman? His son, Reb Simcha Wasserman, who was a Talmud of the Chafetz Chaim. So he was once at a rabbinic convention and he was once at a rabbinic convention. It's a woman talk. I tell you, she uses double the amount of words on the ways that a man does. A man would have just said, "Yo, just go." So Rabbi Chanan Wasserman was once at a rabbinic convention, and he. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, this is just for anybody who's interested, guys. If anybody is interested, this book is called "My Wife, My Queen," which is a book for a no holds barred Shalom Bayis book for men. Right? If anybody's interested, I have these still. These are 20 shekels each. Oh, wow, look at that. They could probably see it on Torah anytime, too. These are 20 shekels each. These are available at local bookstores. These are available at books. I do not have this online to sell. This is My Husband, My King. This is in pink, right, which is also available in stores. And this is a candid and practical. So notice, this is a no-holds-barred Shalom Bayis. This is I wanted to call this a hard-hitting book, right? But they wouldn't let me. They said, make it just, a no-holds-barred. This is a candid and practical Shalom Bayis book for women. And most of it is about how to get your husbands to buy this book, right? That's the. So these are available. This one I don't have anymore. This one, of course, because the women all buy the books, the men don't. But these they should buy these for their husbands for a present. But these are available in the bookstores. Okay. This, gentlemen, is also available. If anybody wants this here at Ohr Somayach, you could buy that. I have these copies. And for Torah Anytime people, these are how to run a Shabbos table. This I could sell you online if you would send me an email. Dovid B. Kaplan, B as in baseball, basketball, and badminton. So Dovid B. Kaplan, and this book is available online. This has enhanced people's Shabbos tables, their lives. And I know a guy who bought the book in his car that broke down, suddenly came back to life. So it's unbelievable that, now if you believe that, you'll believe anything. Now, so the question, what problem is that you run into factionalism. Factionalism means everybody thinks they're right. So Sir Simcha Wasserman was at this rabbinic convention, and this Reform rabbi comes over to him, and he says to him, Rabbi Wasserman, how come we need so many different group types of Jews? Why can't we all be one type? Meaning, it should all be Reform, obviously. So Sir Simcha Wasserman said to him, well, because Judaism, we're an army. And every army has different branches. You got the Navy, you got the Marines, you got the what do you call it? You got the Air Force, you got the ground troops, you got the tank corps. So the guy smiles, he says, and which branch of the army of the Reform? So Rabbi Wasserman says, well, every army has deserters, right? So, what do you call it? Padam, right? So you run the risk of factionalism. Now, the problem is that every group, in your heart of hearts, what people often feel, well, we're all good Jews, Hasidim, Misnagdim, Sfardim, Ashkenazim, but in your heart of hearts, there's kind of that feel, but we're really the right ones, right? It's really the right one. And then the question becomes, what is Mashiach going to look like? Is he going to be wearing a shtreimel or a tie? What's Mashiach? What exactly is Mashiach going to be looking like? So at the end of the day, if you're fulfilling your role, then you're what do you call it? If you fulfill your role, then you are doing the Ratzon Hashem. So they're divided into units over here, and that's lesson number one. It has to be after there's a Mishkan to focus everybody. We're all focused on one central, the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Now we can divide up without the threat that we're going to splinter off and everybody's going to do his own thing. Number one. Number two, there's another underlying lesson here. And the underlying lesson, and it's a theme in the Parsha over here, is the Parsha, the Jewish people, everything that we see over here, it's built on something called Seder. Seder means organization. A person has, even in the yeshivas, when you learn in a yeshiva, each learning session is called Seder. The first Seder, the second Seder. Why is it called a Seder? Why is it called a Seder? It should be called learning session. Why is it called a Seder? Seder means organization. There's a time to learn, there's a time to eat, there's a time to relax, there's a time to do this, time to do that. Everything in life has to be a Seder. A person lives in a random, haphazard way, just catch as catch can. Reb Chaim Moser Grzinski, who was an absolute genius, he was the leader of the Jewish people. After the Chafetz Chaim was nifter, Chafetz Chaim was the unquestioned leader of the Jewish people. When he was nifter, Reb Chaim Moser Grzinski of Vilna was the unquestioned leader of the Jewish people. He was an absolute genius. There are eyewitness reports that he could talk on the phone, write a letter, and hold a conversation with people at one time. His mind was compartmentalized. Yet he said, in order to succeed in life, you don't have to be brilliant, you just have to be organized. And it's true that a person, if you're organized, it takes time to get organized, but you actually save time by getting organized. And sometimes you see people who are always running 5 minutes behind. They get to shul 5 minutes late, and they get to the bus stop 5 minutes late, and they get to the work 5 minutes late, they get to the doctor 5 minutes late. You almost feel like if they would have gotten up 5 minutes earlier that day, everything would have been on. They're always 5 minutes off. Their whole life is 5 minutes off. And sometimes people feel it's not worth the effort to get organized, and which is fine. They can live that way. Once in a while, something happens to them that's so aggravating, like coming 5 minutes late and missing a plane, or they're missing a doctor's appointment. And all it takes is one time, then you realize, you know what, all the organization is right. It's worth getting there an hour earlier. Some people say, why do we have to go sit at the airport? You know, we'll get there. Why do I have to leave right? What does it hurt you? See, you'll spend an extra hour, half hour at the airport. You'll spend an extra 20 minutes in the doctor's office. And the alternative, no, we'll leave now. Then you hit a traffic jam, and then you're nervous, and you miss your flight. It costs you money. It costs you a lot of aggravation. So it comes along the Torah says, everything is organized. It's all about Seder. It's all about organization. It's all about a pattern. And the extension of this is that in personal growth, it's the same way. A person can't just grab and this mitzvah looks good, and wow, maybe I'll learn some Kabbalah now, and maybe I'll immerse in the mikveh 613 times, every morning, and just grab it and jump levels and try to do things that are not on a person's level. It has to be an organized pattern. You're holding over here. Are you really holding by taking on something? People watch, I take on this stringency, a chumrah, a stringency. Are you really holding by the level of taking on a stringency? Are you doing everything that you should be doing, that you want to take on? People used to ask Rav Scheinberg, should I take on a certain chumrah? He said, are you machmir? Do you keep all the laws of Lashon Hara? Are you careful not to speak Lashon Hara? First, make sure you don't talk. Don't worry about your string. Don't worry about the whipped cream on the cake. First, get the cake before you get to the whipped cream. I would put it in a slightly different way. I think that everybody has a certain amount, everybody at their level. Each person at their level has a certain amount of what we'll call spiritual energy. I have a certain amount of energy that I could devote at my level into the religious stuff. I need time off, I need to read, I need to play, I need to do this, I did that. I have a certain amount of religious energy. If you take some of that religious energy and you channel it into optional things, it's probably going to come off of things that you really have to be doing. If you're Reb Moshe Feinstein, so you could be machmir because he takes care, he does everything right. So now there's extra energy to take on other voluntary, optional areas of devotion. But if we're not Reb Moshe Feinstein, I'm still not okay on Lashon Hara. Let me put my energy into that. Yeah, but then I won't have my energy for other devotions which are optional. That's okay. That's okay. First, do what you have to do. Make sure you have to do what you have to do. After you do what you have to do, then we'll worry about what the optional to go on to the next level. So everything has to be organized. Now, take a look at Puzzle Yud Zayin. I think I told you, one of the first stories I heard when I was in the day school, one of the things I remember from day school, they told us about this father whose son left town to go to yeshiva. His son left town. He went to a yeshiva out of town. One day he used to call out of town New York. Right, to this day, do you know that they call it? If you know that the New Yorkers say anybody who's not living in New York is called an out of towner. Yeah. I'm annoyed by it also. Yeah. They think that in Chicago we live in thatched huts. Right, you're out of town. Right, they're surprised to hear we actually have running water. Right, yeah. Oh, he's an out of towner. Oh, I see. Yeah. So the what do you call? So this guy sends his son. His son leaves yeshiva. And he goes off to yeshiva out of town. So the father, after a few weeks, goes to visit his son. So he comes to the yeshiva to check how his son is doing, and he comes home and he tells his wife he's learning very well. So his wife says, "Why? You spoke to the Rosh Yeshiva?" He goes, "No." Oh, you spoke to his Rebbe, his Gemara shir? The father says, no, I didn't speak to the Rebbe. Oh, you spoke to the Mashgiach? No, I didn't speak to the Mashgiach. So how do you know? He says, because I went into the yeshiva and I went straight up to his dorm room. And his dorm room was very well organized. His shoes were neatly under the bed was neatly made, his pillow was up, the clothing, everything was clean, his room smelled good, the towels were hanging nicely. If his room is organized, that means his life is organized, that means he's learning well. And if the room looks like war-torn Europe in World War II, so you can understand his mind is war-torn Europe and his whole behavior is war-torn Europe. And the person can't live life. If you're disorganized, you can take a look at a person's, the way a person even dresses, carries himself, you can tell it's an indication, what they call body language. What we call we make impressions, we create So a person who's organized, his day is organized, his life is organized, everything about him is organized. So then his Torah learning is organized, his davening, everything is organized. Certain people go to Shul Rav Elyashiv. You could set your watch to Rav Elyashiv's day. 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 in the morning he was already up learning, right? He had, some people learn a little bit before davening, right? It's nice, you go to shul, you learn for 10 minutes before davening, a little Mishnah Berurah. Rav Elyashiv also learned before davening. He learned for 4 hours before davening, right? Got up at 2, you went to davening, but you could set your watch, went to davening 6, and he was on his way home, everything organized for about 95 years. Right? Same schedule for 95 years. That's how a person builds himself up. Slowly but surely you build yourself up. That's what the Torah, that's the theme of the Torah here. Now, if you look at 734, it says, V'nosa ohel moed, machane alavim, bisocha machanos, the camp, ohel moed, the camp of the Levium, bisocha machanos, it's on 734, about 12 lines from the top. The way they traveled is the way they camped. The way they camped is the way they traveled, each man by his degel. So you had the 4, you had again 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3, right? They're surrounded in a square. You had in the middle, you have the Levium, and inside of that you have the Ohel Moed. So the Levium actually created almost like a ring around the Ohel Moed. One of the ideas here that they ring around the Ohel Moed is that if anybody starts walking, remember a regular Jew, who's not a Kohen or a Levi, he's not allowed to go past that point. And if he does, he forfeits his life. If he has to get in to give a korban, he's allowed to go in, but he can't be tameh. So you have the Levium where we're like a checkpost. The guy who comes walking, excuse me, where are you going? Where are you headed? I got to go bring a korban. Are you sure you're tahor? What is the korban for? You don't just go marching in there. Number one, they create a ring around it as a security ring, number one. Number two, when, they have what's called, in England, they have an honor guard. You have the honor guard around Buckingham Palace. They're not very efficient. They're not there as security guards. They have regular security. But you have those guys right in Buckingham Palace who wear the big whitish streimels, and they have the streimels with the red Well, where do you think streimels came from, gentlemen? Streimels came from Europe, from the cold countries where they wore those. Everybody wore those because it got nippy there. It got nippy in Lithuania in November, and in May. And in July, these are cold countries, so they wore these things. These streimels, they keep you hot, they keep you warm. So the Jews adopted it, the Hasidim adopted it because it's very, very honorable. They wear it as special occasions. When a guy gets married, he puts on a streimel. They wear it on Shabbos. They wear it on Yom Tov, special occasions. I've worn streimels. I have no idea how they do it. Some of the guys, these walk around with some of these streimels. I'll tell you, the gears where what's it called? The sputtix. I mean, you look at the size of this thing. Their necks must be strong. To carry, and especially in the hot weather. You're wearing this thing on your head in the hot weather. I can barely wear my hat in the hot weather. So but that's their tradition, and it looks very regal. They're wearing these nice streimels. By the way, you know what a streimel costs? How much?
5 to 10.
1,500 minimum.
1,500 minimum, 1,500 you get a feather, right? For 1,500, because streimels you can pay. You're talking about 5 at the basement, right? Oh yeah. And then if you want with power steering and power streimel, you go up to 10. Yeah, don't worry, you get plenty of money. Yeah. They're beautiful. Listen, even the Litvisha hats are too much. Actually, the black hats at Borsalino cost you over 1,000 shekels. What's that? If it was up to me, we'd all be wearing the golf caps, right? We're back to the Chafetz Chaim's days. So we're wearing the golf caps, pay $40, and they take a golf cap and finish. And they don't feel so bad when it blows off your head and rolls in the leg like mine did twice last week, right? So good, I got that off my chest. So, or off my head anyway. I lost the hat once on Rehov Yafo. I got off the bus, and I get a gust of wind, and the thing just starts rolling. And by the time I even took it was a rainy, blizzardy day. By the time I even took one step, it must have been 50 yards ahead of me. It was just rolling down, perpetual motion. It's probably still rolling, like the Olympic torch. And it probably never stops moving. That hat is rolling somewhere in the world. My hat is probably by now it's in Argentina, right? It'll eventually make it around, come back by the time of Mashiach. But at the end of the day, what were we talking about?
Your hat.
No, before.
Security.
Yes. So, right. The honor guard, thank you. The honor guard, they don't have a function other than being honor guards. They're not a security function. The honor guards in England. What does it tell you, though, when you see the honor guards?
Be aware.
Exactly. It tells you that there's a queen inside or a king inside. That means that even in the Beis Hamikdash, Levium stood guard at the Beis Hamikdash. What kind of guard? What do you mean they're standing guard at the Beis Hamikdash? You're standing guard. What's something to take away the Beis Hamikdash? When the Romans, when it came time to burn the Beis Hamikdash, they destroyed everybody. There were no guard. They weren't a security team. The answer is that by having the Levium there, people, remember, we're talking about honoring HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is not visible. They become the reminder of what's going on in the Mishkan, which means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's divine presence is there. Seeing the Levium is a benefit for everybody to remind you that you respect the Mishkan, and the Mishkan is the divine presence. Otherwise, you could take it for granted. Otherwise, you could just see it as a tent and forget about the significance of it. So the Torah says over here, number one, the Levium are in the middle of the camps, and they surround this ring around it. Now, the Mefarshim say over here, on the word Bisocha Machanos, that's a very important point, gentlemen. It's a crucial point. Bisocha Machanos means they are mixed in with the camps. And one of the Mefarshim says what this means is the Levim were the Torah teachers of the people. They're the holy ones of the people. Nevertheless, they have a job to be mixed in with other people. That you should influence other people. You should go out to the people and influence the people. Now, we have to be very careful here because in our day and age, at that point, everybody in the desert, they were all FFBs, right? Everybody was a from birth. And the Levium were dealing with people, and their job was to try to, inspire people who are already inspired as it is. In our day and age, we have a job also to affect people who are not as inspired as we are. Now, the danger is we can't go out there without risking being pulled down. And therefore, it has to be done. Anybody who is going to embark on a career or go live somewhere where you could help the others, our approach is we don't do that because the person who goes out to do it inevitably is going to be pulled down if the environment is not the correct environment. And therefore what a person has to do what we do is, that's why we have these religious enclaves, and you have Kiryat Sefer, and you have Bnei Brak, and you have Lakewood. We try to build, that's why, by the way, the property prices go up. The property prices go up as soon as in Israel they call it mitchared, the neighborhood got Harediized. And as soon as the neighborhood gets Harediized, the Haredis want to live there, so it goes up in value. The property goes there, it starts to get astronomical prices because the religious want to live around the religious. Because it's better for my kids not to see Shabbos desecrated and to hang around with kids who themselves are Haredi, and so on and so forth. So what we do is from that position of strength, we then try to influence. But we don't go and place ourselves in there and drop ourselves in that situation where we ourselves could be pulled down. The person has to be very careful here. What we do have a responsibility for, since we're not turtles in a shell, and we do live with the rest of the society, is we have an incredible responsibility that we have to demonstrate pleasantness and proper manners and dignity because we are Torah Jews and people are looking at us. That is our Bisocha Machanos. A person says, yeah, but I'm not, I don't have the opportunity to do Kiruv. You're doing Kiruv every day. As soon as you get on the light rail, you're doing Kiruv. Because people see what you do on the light rail. Make sure you pay. And make sure you don't push somebody, you don't crush anybody, make sure you don't look at things that you shouldn't look at, because people are watching you. People are watching us. We have a tremendous responsibility. That's what it means with Socha Machanos. Now, furthermore, I had a personal question years ago. When I was probably going back about 30 years ago, maybe even more. I think even more. I think I wasn't even teaching here yet. And I was in Kolo, and there was some sort of get-together with a bunch of my old friends. My old friends were great guys. They were great people. But they go much more modern. For the most part, they were what they call modern. And I had become Haredi. And we had this kind of a get together, and I was very intense. I only spoke Aramaic, and I was very intense. And we had this get together, and I was concerned, how am I going to, what have I got to, with these? So I spoke to a big Rav, and asked him, how am I supposed to relate to these people? He said, you should be, very pleasant, very easygoing, very everything. I said, yeah, but the lifetime we're living a life that's intense. Was very intense. And he said to me, yeah, but they don't know that. I said, yeah, but I'm going to create the wrong impression. He says, yeah, well, if they ever join you, they'll see how intense it is. What they don't know can't hurt them. So we have to, so on the other, you have to be pleasant. That's besocha machanos, that we are, whether we like it or not, we have become ambassadors for Torah. And therefore, people are looking at us. People, how we dress, how we talk, how we say thank you. Get off a bus, you say thank you to the bus driver. Get off a bus. Yeah, you go to a government office. You smile. You say thank you. You say please. And it's like, listen, it's rough. It's rough because we have a responsibility. People are looking, whether we like it or not. People are looking at us. Yeah.
So how does that make you still relatable to that group of people if you're just chill and pleasant?
Because if you're chill and pleasant, people relate to you. They see a guy with a black jacket who's chill and pleasant. So they're still the same guy, just wearing a black jacket.
What about just the normal conversations?
Yeah, you should. People have asked all the time. Well, what happens is the Baal Teshuvas, you often go home. Baal Teshuvas go home and there's a bashing. And all of a sudden, all anybody wants to talk about is religion. You never spoke a word about religion in your life till you left home and became frum. All of a sudden, now anybody, or your brother, your sister, your mother, your uncle, everybody's got something to say about your life choices. So somebody said to me, what do I say to my family? I said, what did you ever talk about? What did you ever talk? You talked about sports. You talked about money. You talked about politics. You talked about things you can't talk about now. Okay, but say it. But so the 3 out of 4 ain't bad. So what am I supposed to do with my brother when I go home? Well, what did you ever do with your brother? You fought with each other. You beat each other up, and you played golf. So you can do the same thing. What's the problem? What's the problem? You just can't go. What do you? Well, we used to go to movies. Okay, so we used to go to restaurants. So go to kosher restaurants. Go to kosher restaurant. What's the problem? Do exactly as much as you could possibly do without crossing the line into the prohibited zone. But certainly stay away from religion. Who's interested in religion? Never were interested in religion before. They weren't interested. Now they're only interested because they want to pick on you. So avoid it. I told you, I had a guy here who went home. He had 3 older brothers. A guy went home, he had 3 older brothers, and he told me when he sat down with the brothers in a restaurant, every time he went home, there was a lynch. So he said to his brothers, listen, guys, if every time I come home, there's just going to be a bashing, you know what, I'm just not going to come home anymore. You guys decide. I'm not going to change, and you're not going to change. You want to have the same relationship we always had, it's up to you. Otherwise, you're just going to come in and get bashed. I'm not going to go and get bashed. Right? It's pointless. So a person has to know, did you ever talk about that? I had 2 guys came into the yeshiva once, years ago. 2 guys came in, and they were studying to be Reform rabbis. So I started schmoozing with them. I started schmoozing with these guys. And finally I turned to one of the guys and said, so do you believe in religion? No, that was the Reform rabbi. That was a different conversation. 2 guys came in and started schmoozing with them. And at a certain point I said, so do you guys believe in God? So one guy goes, no. The other guy goes, I sure do, Tom. So it became clear to me that they've never even discussed it before. These great philosophers have never even discussed it before. They didn't even know what they each one believed in. They say, with your siblings, did you ever talk about it? Just be who you are. That's all. Be who you are. Just that you have to be who you are with tefillin on. That's all. Yeah. Go ahead.
Which pasuk are these words in?
These words are in Pasuk Yud Zayin, 734 Yud Zayin. It's a spin-off from, it says, V'nosa ol moed machane alavim, the camp of the Levim, bisocha machanos. You have to be mixed in. You have to, what's the word? What's the word? So when you social... mingle. You have to mingle in with everybody, integrate with everybody, mingle with everybody, but everybody means males. Okay. Just take a look at Perek Beis Pasuk Chav Gimel. Beis Chav Gimel. Notice how subtle I managed to do that, right? Okay. So now the Torah starts going through on page 734. The Torah starts going through the names and the numbers. Each tribe, how many they had. This one had 64,500, and the next one had 59,300. And I remember years ago thinking to myself, how am I going to remember these numbers? How am I ever going to remember these numbers? And I thought to myself, I never had a problem with batting averages. I never had a problem with home runs, RBIs, batting averages, scoring, all of a sudden these numbers I'm having trouble with. So I got a little better at it because there was a certain pang of conscience there. So I did start getting better. But to this day, I confess my sins publicly. To this day, when I see a number that I associate, if I got to remember a number, I associate the number generally with something sports related. Right, the key, the code on the gate is Rick Berry 67. So it's what they call it, the number. What comes first? The number. Yeah, that sort of thing. It's bad, gentlemen. It's bad. What can I tell you? Yeah, it's good. It's great. Just terrific, marvelous. Yeah. All right. So I want to show you a number over here. So if you take a look, it starts going through all the numbers, and then on Pasuk, skip down on 734, I want to show you, it's fascinating. 734, 12 lines from the bottom. 734, 12, it says, Umate Binyamin, V'nasi livnei Binyamin Avidan ben Gidoni. You have the tribe of Binyamin, and the prince of Binyamin is a man named Avidan ben Gidoni, Utzva'o ufkudehem, Chamisha v'shloshim elef v'arbamos. The number for the tribe of Binyamin is 35,400. Now, there's a Ramban. I don't know where the Ramban is, but the Chasam Sofer quotes a Ramban that says, on Motzei Shabbos, there are 10 psukim that a person should say on Motzei Shabbos, 10 random psukim, which are misugolim letova. They're good. It's a benefit. To say these 10 random psukim on Motzei Shabbos is a benefit. By the way, I haven't done it. I've never done it. So far, I just want to make sure I daven Marav on Motzei Shabbos. But with one day, Mirza shall get to the level where I say these 10 psukim. I don't even know what the 10 psukim are. But I did see quoted, the Ramban says there are 10 random psukim, and Ramban was a big Kabbalist, and somehow he had a tradition that these 10 psukim are good to say on Motzei Shabbos. They're very beneficial. One of the 10 psukim is this pasuk over here, Utzva ufkudehem chamishu shloshim elef v'arba'amios, 35,400. So the Chasam Sofer says, what is this? Each one of the psukim, I'm sure, has multiple explanations. But the Chasam Sofer says, why is this pasuk any more of a benefit in this area than any other pasuk? So the Chasam Sofer makes a simple calculation. How many brachas do you have to make a day? 100 brachas. Make 100 brachas a day.
It's not you have to. It's like Dovid, Hamelech, he did it, so we follow after, no?
We're supposed to make 100 brachas a day. Yes, and we have to. Now that I know two people who actually you could tell at any point of the day, you could say to the guy, "What are you up to?" 83. He knows exactly where he's holding. What are you up to? 81. Right? What are you up to? 77. They know exactly how many brachas they're up to. Yeah. There are people who take this stuff seriously. Yeah. So the Chasam Sofer says, yes.
Don't you get 100 from the three prayers?
You get 57. You get 57 from the three prayers. You get a triple 19 on the dartboard from the Shemona Esrei, and you get a right. And then you get another 14. You get another 14 from the what do you call it? From the brachas in the morning. Then you bench, and a couple of times you say Asher Yotzar, and you make brachas on the tefillin and the thing. Generally, we make it. Shabbos is the issue. So according to some on Shabbos, that's why we have a few extra snacks and a few extra this, a few extra that to make a few dozen extra. Yeah, to make the what do you call it? In order to get there. That's why. Okay, Shabbos is tricky. The Brisker Rav was once a guest in somebody's house, and he said to the lady, he was going to mincha. The Brisker Rav said to the lady, the hostess, he said, when I come back from mincha, maybe I could have an apple and a banana. So he goes to mincha, then he comes back to the house and he doesn't touch the apple and the banana. They're sitting there, the wife is worried, Brisker Rav, the problem, kashrus, what could possibly is an apple and a banana? So she said, why? How come you don't want the apple and the banana? He said, well, I was counting my brachas, I was up to I had needed 2 more brachas to make to get to 100. But when I went to shul for mincha, and I got an aliyah. When I got the aliyah, I made 2 brachas. I don't need the fruit, which is just an interesting attitude towards food, right? Hey, what came first? The chicken or the bracha, right? So the brisker rose that you're not making a bracha so you could eat. You're eating so you can make a bracha. Okay, it's a level, gentlemen. We make a bracha so you could eat. We're not, unless you're holding by the brisker. 1 second. So you make 100 brachas a day. How many days are in the Jewish year? 354. How many tribe the tribe of Binyamin? 35,400. That's the equivalent of how many brachas a person makes in a year. So the Chasam Sofer, that's why the Ramban says this pasuk is a sukkah for bracha, because this is the pasuk which is the multiple of brachas in a year. See ya.